I'm Dr. Gail Gross. My guest has been linked to some of the biggest success stories in the television business. Oprah, Dr. Phil, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, and Inside Edition are just a few of the shows that King World has introduced to the American public. They are true behind-the-scenes king makers whose company finds and distributes some of the best shows on the air today. Richie King, welcome.
Well, thank you.
Tell us, what is the story of King World? How did it get started?
The story of King World, by the way, let me just say that I have never done a television interview. I've been in television all my life. I did it because I trust you, I love your work, and you're a great lady. So
Thank
I'd
you,
like to start
Richie.
there.
Thank you.
King World is a fascinating American success story. My mother, Lucille King and Charles King, had 6 children. My father was in the radio business. My mother just wanted to be a housewife, a mother. Probably one of the most beautiful things I ever heard my mother ever say was that she never would have changed one day of her life, that she loved being a mother and a husband, wife, and that's something that most people can't say today with the high incidence of divorce and personal ambition. Her personal ambition was to be a mother, a mentor, and a wife, and she did it great. My father started in radio in the 40s with he had Gangbusters and the Gloria Swanson Show and Rudy Valley, and he was a real big Second Honeymoon, Queen for a Day. Then television came along and knocked my father out of business, and he wouldn't declare bankruptcy. He paid everybody 100 cents on the dollar, so he had to go into television.
Yes.
And he was one of the pioneers in TV.
Amazing.
With local television shows, and he was one of the first syndicators. That is our business. King World is a syndication company, and he was in the forerunner of that business that just started. They would take reruns from shows that had been on for a long time and go around and sell them to the different independent stations around the country. Radio shows were done live with a live audience.
I didn't even know that.
So that's why my father would go out and warm up the audience before the shows. He was a larger-than-life guy, and he loved to make people laugh, and he just loved to have a great time. Ingmar Bergman said to me one time that my father should have been in front of the camera because he was so entertaining. He was such a great guy. And he came to my father when my father was vice president of official films. And his films were very artsy type films, and they wouldn't buy them in this country. And my father told him, you shoot this and that and this and that, and I'll sell those movies for you. And he did that. And when he worked for official films, he realized that our gang did not get the ratings that the Little Rascals did.
Aha.
The Little Rascals were done first.
I see.
And that's when Spanky was 2.5 and he was cute.
I watched Spanky my whole childhood.
And our gang was when Spanky was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And everything was contrived. My father realized early on that the Little Rascals was a great show because Laurel and Hardy were on the same set, and they mentored the kids. And they wrote some of the scripts. And also the first director for the Little Rascals was Frank Capra.
No.
Yes, that was his first big break in the business. It's just been a treat. My father started King World in 1964, and I was there with him when it happened, because he was riding around New York City waiting to find out if a man named Joe Auerbach, who owned the Little Rascals, would sell them to my father. And my father had sold them to WPIX in New York to a man by the name of Fred Thrower, and took the down payment and gave it to him as a down payment. And my father said, we're in business. So my father started the company King World. It was actually King World Productions in the beginning. And we went to a printing place, and my father picked out of the book certain things that he wanted on it, and he picked a world, and he picked an eagle and put it on top, which the Marine Corps made us take off. It was a Marine Corps eagle. But my father was a great visionary. He thought that even the name of the company was amazing when you stop and think that the name of the company is King World.
Yes.
And my father never sold anything outside the United States.
Amazing.
And now King World sells in 170 different countries around the world.
Imagine what he would think today, Richie.
Well, I think he'd be proud of us. My father was a teacher.
Yes.
He spent all the years that I knew him teaching us how to be independent and how to do certain things, and yet we never worked for them.
And you are a teacher.
Well, I learned from my father.
Yes.
I love to teach. I love to mentor people, because a great feeling for me is when people take off. I've always envied people that said, I want to be a doctor and become a doctor.
Yes.
Because I find in life, most of the time, and my father in his travels, and my brothers in travels, sisters' travels, we found out that you can start off in one direction, but you get knocked in another direction. And that's where you're supposed to go.
Brilliant. That it's not linear. It's sort of an accidental
Accidental
journey.
destiny, I call
yes,
it. You know,
exactly.
you were supposed to be there, you just didn't know it.
I love that, Richie.
And getting back to the Kings, my mother and father had 6 children.
Oh,
my
wow.
brother Bob King, and I'm the second oldest, Richard King, and I have a brother Roger King who runs King World for Viacom or CBS.
Yes.
Now. And I have a brother Michael King and a sister Diana King and a sister Karen King. And I have to say that we were long shots to become what we did because we were mavericks.
Yes.
My father was a maverick.
Risk taker.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also he created characters.
Mm-hmm.
We did not follow along the company line. We did what was in our gut feelings, and we also had integrity. My father always preached honesty, integrity. I mean, he was a big man. Like 6'2", 300 pounds, and if one of his kids lied to him, he'd just sit down and cry. He couldn't stand it.
Wow.
He hated liars.
Wow.
To him, a deal was a handshake, and that's the way business was done. And as we went along, in 1972, my father passed away. Now, I'm going to show you how great my mother was and what a wonderful woman she was. When my father passed away, the Kings had been on a roller coaster ride. My father never liked money. Mm-hmm. He liked to climb.
So interesting. He liked the process.
He liked the challenge. When he had money, he was always unhappy because there was no more mountains to climb. And most people said, well, you want to take this and save it. He never saved a nickel.
Imagine.
And in doing that, we learned early in life that money is round. It rolls to you and it rolls away from you, you know. And life's a bunch of ups and downs, and that's just the way we thought it should be, you know, because we didn't know any other way.
Yes.
So then all of a sudden, in 1972, my father died of a heart attack at the age of 60. And my mother had no money, no insurance or anything else, and the only thing she had that was worth anything was King World. And King World basically owned the Little Rascals, and it had a bunch of little 90-second insert shows like The Butcher with Merle Ellis and Paul Strassel's Tax Tips, and of course, oh, Mr. Food, oh, it's so good, you know. And somebody came and offered her $500,000. That's all the money that she would have in the world. And my mother decided that this was our dream, King World, and that we all loved it, and we all participated in it. So she split the company up evenly between all 6 of her children.
So far-reaching and such insight.
Also such trust.
Such trust.
To not have anything and know that we're still going to live the dream. And then my brothers took it over. My older brother, Bobby, like being a sort of European type thing, the oldest gets the first chance, you know, and he did a great job, and we worked out of his basement, and the company started to grow. And then my brother left, and he went to start his own company, and he had The Price is Right, and you know he was president of Columbia.
That's
TV,
right.
and he did fairly well, but the other brothers had to take over, which was a little unusual for a family when the oldest leaves. It's like the chain of command.
Exactly.
Who's going to do what? You know? And I will say one thing. My brother Roger's a great salesman. He sold billions of dollars worth of Oprah and Wheel.
I was going to say Oprah. I mean, really, you discovered her.
Actually, I have to say this about Oprah, and I saw her at the Carousel Ball the other night, that Oprah liked us.
Yes.
And because a lot of people were courting Oprah when we got Oprah. And she just felt something for my brother Roger, and she felt that we would be straight shooters. And she's always owned her own show. We never owned her show. She
saw your integrity, because I know she's careful in her relationships and commitments.
I think the best way to put that is she's still with us.
Yes.
20-some years later.
Imagine.
And we've had Wheel and Jeopardy for 20-some years, and it's still going on. We started a show, my brother Roger's idea to start Inside Edition, where I love where I hear about O'Reilly. He was our host for 7 years.
Really
and
true.
Nancy Glass was also our host, and now Deborah Norval's the host. So that show's going on for 16 or 17 years itself. So we've had a great run.
In the beginning, Richie, when you all began in the cellar, what was that like?
Confusion. Because everyone in my family is a very A-type personality, very excitable. When they think they're right, they don't back down, and it was tough. But coming from a family like mine, that we were always the outsiders.
Yes.
We really were the American success story. We're long shots to be where we are today.
It's really an interesting thing because, you know, it wasn't formal education or informal education. You just all had it.
But the thing that's the most amazing about my family, and that people should take as hope, is that even though they weren't trained in certain areas, every time a crisis came up, a family member rose to the occasion to take care of it.
Yes.
Whether it be legal, sales. My brother Michael is a truly wonderful guy, but a very brilliant mind. I mean, he's the one that opened up 5 offices and hired 100 people, and we started Camelot. We had the largest barter company in the world.
Exactly.
And it's King World Media Sales now, and it just that's what I was the most proud of, and that I wish my parents could have seen. That every time a crisis came up, one of the kings rose to take care of it.
Stepped up to the plate.
Even though they have no idea how to do it or whatever, they had to put their thinking cap on. They had to improvise, and they learned. They were bright enough to learn how to protect themselves, and it's been a dream come true. We were always known as the ones that threw the best parties at the Nappy. I mean, I think Paramount or something put an ad in the paper that we're not going to go up against King World's party if anybody, we're going to cancel our party. And if anybody has any extra tickets for the King World party, contact us at this booth. And I thought that was really it for a company like King World to be talked about like that by Paramount. And now we're part of the Viacom family.
Exactly.
Paramount is, and so is. We were bought by CBS by Mel Karmazan. And one thing I'm very proud of is that I think it's one of the best deals that CBS ever did.
Yes.
It certainly was one of the best deals we ever did, because the company sold for somewhere around $5.5 billion.
Yes.
And all the shows have continued to go on. Plus, they got a little hit knocked off of Oprah called Dr. Phil.
Exactly.
Which is a big show today. And my brother Roger sells it all over. And plus, we became CBS's syndication arm. So the deal turned out wonderful, not only for our shareholders.
There's something on the table for everyone.
But we always leave a little on the table. You know why? Because we don't want to be pigs.
Exactly.
And, they say the old story is that,
bulls make money, bears make money,
and the pigs get slaughtered. That's true.
Exactly.
And I believe that in life, too. I believe that your karma of who you are, and everybody wants to win, everybody wants to get ahead. But there's such a thing as being a human being.
Your father taught you so much about that. He took such an interest in raising you all. He really mentored each one. He had thoughts and ideas on how to raise you. He stayed with you. If you had a problem, he addressed it. What created that in him, that he, no matter what, I mean, a lot of fathers have children and they go to work and they build an empire, but your dad stayed present in all of your lives?
Well, I think the main thing is that, first of all, my father was an orphan. He had a younger brother that died very early, and he was an orphan, and he was raised by adults.
Yes.
His mother was older. And he was really afraid probably that we wouldn't make it, because we were characters. We didn't go down the safe path. You know? We always wanted to cut off and make our own path. And he knew that attitude, which was his attitude, would be hard for us, that it wouldn't be easy. And it hasn't been easy. People always thought that we were the ones, we weren't part of the old boy network.
Right.
We didn't go to Harvard. We didn't have the old school tie. We did things that other people would say, well, why would you do that? And you say, because it was right, or because it had to be done. And I want people out there, especially on public broadcasting, to know that there are no boundaries. The only boundaries there are within yourself.
Your own limitations.
If you don't try, you can't win. And if you try and fail, you've learned something from it.
I love that,
Rich. And that makes you a better person, and the people that are around you are a better person.
Yes.
Everybody doesn't have to feel good by making someone else feel bad.
And how does syndication work? I mean, what is that all about? How did that happen?
First of all, let me say it this way. Most people used to take shows for syndication, like I Love Lucy, where they had them on for many, many years, and then they would sell the reruns in syndication. That means that you can sell ABC in one market and CBS in another, and UHF in another. You can sell anywhere. You're not restricted. You're not a network. But King World came up with which I think is a fairly unique concept, is that we made first-run TV for syndication. Like Oprah's made, they're all new. They're not reruns.
Exactly.
The Wheel of Fortune is made especially for the 7 to 8 o'clock slot at night.
Well, what do you think then of this idea of reality television?
Well, I'll tell you, reality television is a fad, like Dr. Kildare and the doctor shows were. Everything has its shelf life and everything has its course.
Time.
I don't particularly like the reality ones because I think it shows people out a very bad light.
Yes.
That you're going to eat worms and cockroaches and everything like this just for the chance to win some money.
Yeah.
I think you're selling out in front of the whole world, and you might get your 30 seconds of fame. But I think you give too much up for it. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to good old-fashioned values or old-fashioned television, but I think Oprah certainly helps people and really cares about trying to do it.
And has had this amazing growth, and her persona grew with King World. She was able to move from one kind of television to now almost an education kind of thing, where she's talking about the whole person and spirituality and enhancing your life and books and the book list. And the other thing you guys did as a very first, you gave her a designated time so that all over the country she was seen at the same time. I mean, it's amazing what you all thought of.
Well, I think that Oprah was a long shot like the Kings.
Yes.
Maybe that's why she picked the Kings. Because she came from humble beginnings that everybody knows about, and not letting the cat out of the bag. And I think what you're really doing is seeing a very bright, intelligent person that is learning on TV.
Yeah.
When she learns, she educates the viewer on the things that she learns. And she found out money is a very empty, and I can tell you this from my own personal experience, money will not make you happy.
Exactly.
If anything, it has a tendency to give you, which I think the people in this country have too much of now, are too many options, too many choices. I mean, there are 40 movies on the satellite TV and nobody can find one to watch.
That's so true, Richie. Even raising children, there's so many how-to books. We all get paralyzed. Nobody knows how to, when it's really so simple. It's just from the heart, which is what Oprah, I think, has managed to reach, and King World, with all of your work, has managed to reach your father's philosophy, which is really from the heart.
Well, I think Oprah is also a very bright woman.
Yes.
It's very easy for us to put people in categories.
Yes.
Oprah overcame a lot of things. The Kings overcame a lot of things to get where they are. I don't think that there's been sacrifice, and
of course,
there's been some down things about it that have taken away. In other words, some of it is maybe you weren't home as much as you like. Maybe you did have to push harder. Maybe you were obsessed with winning because everybody knew you were going to lose.
Yeah,
and I think Oprah found that. I don't know for sure, but from listening and watching her over the years, she's come out of tremendous. She's an American success story.
Yes.
The Kings and Oprah are both American success stories.
It's an incredible marriage, really.
And also, we've always been happy with each other, too. It's like even Merv Griffin picking the Kings to do Wheel and Fortune.
Of course. The most popular game show, I think, ever on television.
It's been #1 for over 20 years, never out of #1.
Imagine.
But the #2 show, my brothers put on the air, because Merv said he would never bring Jeopardy out.
Imagine.
And I know that this might be a little controversial, but my mother said that when you do Jeopardy, and she passed away just before it came out, that she said, you get Alex Trebek. She said, he's not only good looking, he's smart.
Oh, I love that, Richie.
And this was a time when everybody said, if you do Jeopardy, you have to do it with Art Fleming. These were purists.
Right.
Jeopardy has purists.
Yes.
Wheel has purists,
And here he stayed to this day.
He got old on the show.
We've watched reality
That's
in the good way, really.
In the television business especially, there's always a big push on youth. That's what reality TV is.
Yes.
They're trying to get younger viewers.
Exactly.
The only thing is they're training these younger... I saw a guy one time say, I think it was Stephen Cannell said it, the producer, he said television has changed the viewing of everything. with a clicker in your hand, if it's not always entertaining, if it's not always instant gratification, you're off looking for something else.
Surfing
the net, right, or surfing the TV.
Right.
And that means you never really let the story unfold.
What you taught me, Richie, is just that, to tell the story. And your family story, all of these things about the Little Rascals. I remember your dad said, don't sell the Little Rascals, and then all of the things that have happened from that are classics. Sherlock Holmes, tell us about that.
My father understood, and as I said earlier in the show, that there was reasons that the Little Rascals were such classics. But the best reasons the Little Rascals are classic is that they've survived the test of time.
Yes.
And we own Sherlock Holmes, another classic. I like to think Oprah's another classic, and Wheel and Jeopardy are classics. We always wanted to have things that had some value, and that's why I'm not for reality TV, because I don't know anybody that's going to want to say that they started this reality TV show versus the test of time with, as far as the Rascals,
exactly.
with the Sherlock Holmeses, and I think that's what really counts. If you have a reproduction table, if you have it long enough, it's an antique.
Yes.
And it withstood the test of time.
And in reality TV, everyone is sort of talking over one another. We have a lot going on with campaign season. We see a lot of talking heads. And tell us your philosophy in thinking about all of that, the idea of listening as an important way to communicate.
Well, I don't think people listen anymore. I think people just wait for you to stop so they can start. And that certainly is that's not a ebb and flow type of reaction. In other words, you're trying to make a statement where the other person was asking you a question. And I think a lot of these shows like reality TV are doing the same thing. They're pitting people against people. They're making people root for one person or another.
Yes.
And I don't think that withstands the test of time, because I think after a while that will become a little old. Is it a big hit today? Yes, it is.
And the political idea that, we have spin and analysis, but no real hard facts. What do you think about all of that and how popular it is?
Well, I don't think that people ever stand on any platforms anymore. They don't stand for anything. Mm-hmm. They're all sound bites. They're all attacks on each other. And I think the American people get shortchanged by it. This country was set up with people with real values. There are no real values. When a person can talk for 2 hours and the only thing you take out of it is a 30-second soundbite.
Yes.
I mean, nobody can be that cautious for that long. And did they have nothing to say for the hour that they were talking, but 30 seconds?
Exactly.
People dictate what goes on TV.
Yes.
If they put these sensational things on TV, and the audience likes it, because remember, the audience is that mentality of switching from channel to channel.
Right.
As soon as you give them 1 second of boredom, they're gone.
Right. What is it like to be the father of 4 children? And tell us first how you met your beautiful wife, Lauren.
I met my beautiful wife on a blind date. And
really?
I told her mother that I was going to marry her. She's an amazing person, and she's a good person. That's what I see. I see in my wife my mother. I see that goodness.
And what is your philosophy for those wonderful boys? Everyone.
I'm lucky. I got to mention my kids' names because I love them so much. I have my son Charlie, who's in Florida, doing real estate and buying little houses and fixing them up, and he's really creative in that area. Then I have my son Richard, who's out here, lives right down the street from here, and he works in the financial business, and he handles my account for Wachovia. And then I have a son, Michael, who's a true genius and a wonderful kid. And I'm so proud of him. He's in high school, but I can't imagine what he's going to be. He's so, brilliant. And then I have a son, Bobby, who's my last son. He's 9 years old. He's
handsome.
The sweetest. Oh, is he handsome?
Brilliant.
He's brilliant, and he's just like his mother.
Yes, he's like both of you. I know him.
He's having breakfast, asking where we're going for lunch. It's something I would never do.
Wonderful.
But I've been blessed with a wonderful family, a wonderful life, and I think the greatest blessing of all was that I was born an American. My family,
would say that. That's wonderful.
I love this country. When I leave this country, I miss it.
Yes.
For all our mistakes and all our problems and everything else, this is truly paradise.
Yes, it is.
Because we accept everybody. We do not have A and B citizenships. When you're a citizen, if you've been here 300 years or for 3 years, you both have the same rights. What a beautiful system that is.
Yes, and everyone here has a chance. You are the true American success story.
Thank you.
What was the defining moment in your life?
I think the defining moment in my life was many years of being taught by my father and mother and my wonderful brothers and sisters. We've supported each other. We were great. Outside people have always tried to take us down, and as long as we were a family unit, we were strong and safe.
I love that.
And I wouldn't have changed one day of the struggle and the fame and the success, because I know you can't have one without the other. If things only go good, as soon as one thing goes bad, you collapse.
Yes.
Our failures make us strong. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
You are one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And you are a great philosopher, a teacher, a success in everything you touch. I wish I had hours to really have the audience see the full part of you, because you're a genius in everything. You know a lot about everything, and you know how to then link it all together and problem solve, not just for me, but for everyone. And it's my honor to have had you here today.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Richie.
I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have missed it for King World.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
Thanks.
We are PBS.